Race-based turmoil south of the border.
To deploy the National Guard in sufficient numbers that we dominate the streets.
With much of the world pointing the finger at President Trump for inciting violence in an effort to stop protests that have followed since the death of George Floyd at the hands of police, pressure is mounting for the Canadian Prime Minister to openly condemn the American president.
It's hypocrisy, and the silence is deafening.
The relationship between Justin Trudeau and Donald Trump has been peppered with awkward moments and squabbles. When Trudeau was asked on Tuesday about Trump's actions, including calling in the military to deal with protesters, an awkward silence followed. That silence lasted 21 seconds before the Prime Minister tiptoed around Trump's actions, refusing to even name him.
We all watch in horror and consternation what's going on in the United States.
The Prime Minister of Canada has to call out the hatred and racism happening just south of the border. And if the Prime Minister can't do that, how can everyday people be expected to stand up?
Most of Canadians and Quebecers would see themselves better through their Prime Minister if he did show some courage.
Other than acknowledging that anti-black racism is happening in the U.S. and Canada, Trudeau has so far refused to directly address Trump's actions. Deputy Prime Minister Chrystia Freeland defending the Prime Minister's awkward answer.
I think the Prime Minister's answer yesterday was excellent and it was eloquent.
And it's not just Liberal members defending Trudeau's silence.
How our Prime Minister has to handle that is actually a very difficult tightrope that he's walking. And he has to also think of the general interests of the Canadian public in terms of access to medicines, supplies, and food across the border.
With the Canadian-American border partially closed due to COVID-19, any criticism from the Canadian Prime Minister could create problems from the impulsive U.S. president. El Gawabi thinks that Trudeau's response said more than meets the ear.
I understand that people would want him to say more, but I think his silence spoke volumes.
The Prime Minister was not asked about it in the House of Commons. In Ottawa, Nigel Newlove, City News.